Why are young people leaving the church? Churches are rapidly declining, especially when it comes to the younger generation. 2 out of 3 teenagers who grew up in church will get out of church between the ages of 18 to 22. One study shows that in 1972, 9% of young adults were non-religious. In 1998, that number had changed to 21%, and in 2021, that number was now 42%. That means that in a 50-year period, the number of non-religious young adults more than quadrupled. So why are young people leaving the church? What can the church do to win them back, and how can we keep the ones that we still have? Hi, my name is David Cipriano, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. As a youth pastor, this issue of young people leaving church is one that's very personal to me. So I'm going to share with you 4 of the biggest reasons why young people are leaving church. The first reason that I want to talk about is hypocritical Christians. Hypocritical Christians say one thing, but then do another thing. They pretend to be something that they're not. There have been far too many stories of pastors and other church leaders who were exposed for their moral failures. And to make matters worse, a lot of people feel obligated to just sweep it under the rug to protect that person. Far too many ministries are playing the cover-up game. And for a generation that wants something real, this isn't it. This turns them away. Many Christians grew up seeing parents act one way at church, but then a totally different way at home. And when parents live this way, it tells their children that Christian morals don't actually matter. As Christians, it's our duty to be genuine. When we put on an act, or if we say something that we're not, we are driving people away from church, and we're even making them doubt God. If you have left the church because of the hypocrisy of others, I would encourage you to reconsider. You may choose to attend a different church, but it's a mistake to drop out of church altogether. Don't give up on Christ because of bad Christians. Another reason why there's so few young people in church is because of shallow faith. Many Christians, and especially young people, aren't grounded in their faith. They don't really know what they believe or why they believe it. Many pastors are preaching sermons full of fluff and empty of biblical teaching, and as a result, the congregation isn't really getting fed. Some Christians have been attending church their whole life, yet they don't really understand much Bible at all. One of the greatest responsibilities of a pastor, youth pastor, or small group leader is to lead others to a deeper faith. Colossians 2:7 says, rooted and built up in Him, Jesus. We need to know what we believe and why we believe it. Because if you don't have a why, you will eventually lose your what. Many young people have questions about God and the Bible, but sometimes those questions get shut down and labeled as doubting or faithless, but really it's important that we face these questions, because a faith that cannot be tested is a faith that cannot be trusted. Another reason for this missing age group is a lack of community. One of the reasons why there are so few young adults in church is because there are so few of them. It's hard for churches to keep young people when there aren't other young people there. Unfortunately, many churches have failed to value this age group. They'll have a nursery, children's classes, a youth group, but then once you graduate, you go to the same group as your parents. And as a result, whenever they graduate high school, they feel like they don't really fit in anywhere. Now, I realize that some ministries may not have the capabilities to be able to add another small group, and it's really hard to get something going if you have such a small percentage of people in that age range. But it will be very difficult to keep a generation in church if you have no designated place for them. And finally, the church is losing the younger generation due to cultural shifts. Attending church used to be much more common. It was a hub of the community, and it was seen as a great place to meet people. But sadly, times have changed. It's not the gathering place like it used to be in the past. Many people who identify as Christian choose not to attend church because they say that they practice their faith in other ways. In other words, they don't see the church as necessary. 50 years ago, it would have been really unusual to hear a Christian say this, but now it's a very popular thing to say, especially among these younger crowds. Some people say that they don't need to go to church because they study the Bible at home, but people who say that haven't actually been studying the Bible, because Hebrews 10:25 says, "Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is." The Bible commands us to be involved in church. So there you have it, 4 of the biggest reasons why young people are leaving the church. I hope that this video was a help to you and that your church will be able to reach this missing generation.